City building games have been around for ages, as many of us just love the freedom of turning a tiny village into a sprawling metropolis. So coming up, I'll be sharing with you 15 of the best city building games of all time, plus some honorable mentions of titles still in early access but are still so good they are definitely worth including. From space stations to ancient civilizations, from surviving harsh climates to ruling with an iron fist, these city builders all have a special place in my heart, as well as for many others who enjoy the genre. As always, this is Marco here, and if you end up enjoying this content, don't forget to like or subscribe to find more content like this. But on with the video. So no particular order, first up is Tropico 4. Yes, the Tropico series is one of those that you just simply can't miss out on. No matter where you started in your journey, each one is filled to the brim with character. Many regard the fourth as being the best, as even though number 6 is the newest and looks very good, but the fourth had a bunch of quality of life features that they removed, as well as a lot of added charm. But whichever one you choose, you're still going to have a blast in this dictator first city builder. Booting up the game and hearing this Caribbean music going on, it always made it feel cheerful despite what was actually going on. But what got me hooked was building up my beachside city while making all those moral and mostly immoral decisions along the way. The main reason why this game makes the list though is its charm. From its tongue-in-cheek humor all the way to the crazy shenanigans like when a tornado is invading your city while fireworks are going off. And all of this while you get to build your own little dictatorship without worrying about it turning ugly. From its crude caricatures to that vibing background music, from the classic missions that pop up along the way to some really fun city building, truly makes this game and the series one of the all-time greats. Then up next, if you ever wanted a city building game set on a space station, well, look no further than IXION, a survival city builder soaked in sci-fi satisfaction. Now besides Hotline Miami, IXION was a game where I had first listened to the soundtrack before actually playing the game. And then I played it and my gosh, it is just incredible. Besides that, the plot, the voice acting, and the interesting survival building mechanics are all so well put together. It's got tons of depth, but trust me, the game isn't easy for beginners. But damn, once you get in that city building groove and the blah blah music starts going off in the background, to me, that is what makes this game truly worthy of this list. Like someone right-clicking on a program, you're called the administrator, and now you're in charge of the station called the Tycoon. Earth is rapidly dying, and you need to take your interstellar space station to a new habitable planet. But things go a bit sideways on Earth, and you find yourself alone in the vastness of space. You need to balance having enough food, maintaining the ship, and trying to find out what else is out there. Then you get the satisfying feeling of seamlessly transitioning between 3 levels of intense station management, with gameplay going from easy to downright disastrous, making it definitely a must-play for fans of sci-fi and strategy. Next on the list, here's a medieval city builder / colony sim that I loved from the very start. It's called Foundation. And yes, it's still new, but this is my list, and this game is amazing. You can call it whatever you want. Cozy, relaxing, charming, but once you start noticing little features like paths appearing from people walking too much in the same areas, or seeing villagers selling their fresh fish caught that day, it pulls you in deep. I actually made a whole video breaking down all of its best parts. Organic city building? Check. Freedom and flexibility? Check. An economy that works like intended? Check. A progression system that actually feels like progress? Check. And a chilled out city building experience I've been craving for so long? Check. You can choose whether you want to build a castle, maybe go the religious route, or maybe you just really need a tax haven. This game really makes you want to test the limits of what these little townsfolk are capable of. And trust me, once you start seeing aspects like modular building, and now that it's got mod support, it's going to be very hard for you to put down. Now back to space, and to me, Surviving Mars has to be one of the best city building games that's not based on Earth. This game perfectly captures the experience of what we might have to go through one day when we need to leave our home and live on the red planet. It's been out for some time, and with Paradox behind it, you can best believe you have DLCs coming out of the wazoo, but beyond that, this game is fantastic, even today. What I love about Surviving Mars though is its replayability. Sure, the game is great. I mean, you go from just a handful of bots running around the place like you're about to host the weirdest dinner party of all time, complete with air, water, and domes, but then you end up all the way to tourists, scientists, and engineers living their best lives, complete with their pull-up bars and fresh fruit corner stores. I love just zooming in and seeing what they're up to. It's one of my favorite aspects of a good city builder. It creates creates so much immersion, and there's enough buildings for it to always feel unique. But behind the scenes, you're also choosing who is sponsoring your trip to the Red Planet, who your commander will be, tons of technology upgrades that just seem to go on, as well as a bunch of different settings and tweaks that can make your game as peaceful or as challenging as you want it to be. Sure, in the late game it becomes a bit more relaxing once your resources pile up, but to me this game has so much good immersion, I'm just happy to be along for the ride. Up next, Anno 1800. That's probably one of the best games that can make you turn a small town into an industrialized empire. Anno 1800 plants you at the start of the Industrial Revolution at the turn of the 19th century, and then demands that you craft and maintain a city built on the innovation from your research and technological advancement. You'll need to build trade routes and then go out on expeditions to further your research and uncover useful resources that will help your newly established city thrive. But as your metropolis grows, you'll have to deal with more problems like competing rulers, civil strife, and a whole bunch of political warfare. But then the game prods you along. Do you want to go the diplomatic route or be a little bit of a tyrant? What's great is that the game fits your playstyle and just lets you roll with it. And yes, it sucks that you have to deal with Ubisoft's launcher, but if you can look beyond that, you're looking at a game that you can easily sink over 1,000 hours into. And that's mostly because you'll always be tweaking and making improvements to your city, which gives it a good balance of frustration versus reward. And let's not forget all those DLCs that also add in tons of value with the game as well. But back to the survival city building. Next up, we've got Frostpunk. Definitely one of the most depressing games on this list, but during its release, it just brought in so many people, including myself. It just came out of nowhere, as now you had this game where the goal is not creating some kind of thriving city with pretty buildings everywhere, but rather just trying to survive every day. Humanity is on the brink of extinction and faced with a nuclear winter, and your city is the only hope. Resources are rare, mining for them is rough, and finding people to actually work is even more of an arduous task. Plus the narrative elements that get weaved in make it more than just a numbers game like most city builders. I often had to put the game down just because of how depressing it got, as some of the decisions you make will stay with you for ages. And while the sequel is out, I'm putting the first one on here because it's still such a legend in gaming history, and I mean that's probably why they're doing a whole remake. Coming up next is Against the Storm, and this one gets a spot because it's defined as a roguelike city builder, and a great one at that, which really adds a breath of fresh air to the genre. Roguelike, but why? Well, when you think of city builders, most times the most fun is the initial phase, the early stage of the game where you're setting up your infrastructure and supply chains. And that's what this game that is just wrapped in these fantastic fantasy visuals encapsulates so well when your runs only last for like 2 hours max. Every city has its own unique vibe, and with the randomized missions, blueprints, and perks, it really keeps things feeling fresh with every run. Then the game tosses in some satisfying meta progression, and the upgrades you unlock between sessions let you tackle tougher challenges and really cranks up that difficulty. It's really cool to see a company take on the city building genre in a new and unique way, and I think the devs nailed it. It's rare to hear the words, just one more run in a city builder, but here we are, and I'm cool with that. Now up next is Banished, and yes, I know it's more of a colony sim, and feel free to call me out on it in the comments, but leaving it out would just feel weird. Now I know there are more modern games that are similar, but when this survival city builder came out, I had no idea how fun yet stressful this game would be. I mean, it's not that complicated. Your villagers need food to survive in the harsh winter, you need to make your village run smoothly, and that's about it. But the more you play, and the more you get wrapped in a game that was just designed so well that even today, people still regard it as the best in its genre. And thanks to various modding supports, you can play now and experience it with even more levels of detail and replayability. Now it's time to take a trip down memory lane where more plebs are needed. It's Caesar 3. Impressions Games, the devs of this, cranked out a number of solid titles, and it would be hard to narrow them all down, so I'll start with the oldest first. Regarded as the best Roman city builder, in Caesar 3 you have to build a thriving city city from scratch, complete with aqueducts, temples, markets, and of course angry gods that will literally torch your grain if you forget their temple. Now the game is really old, but the good news is that there's this Augustus mod that you can play the game with that's got tons of graphical improvements and gameplay tweaks to relive the good old days, and it's really worth checking out. Now Caesar 2 wasn't bad, but Caesar 3 truly set the benchmark in enjoyable city building. The developers, Impression Games, had found their groove, and the following titles I'll be listing also make this list because I just couldn't decide which one was best. So following Caesar 3 came Pharaoh the year after, built on the same engine but with some gameplay tweaks here and there. And it's the only time that the papyrus font is allowed to be used. Pharaoh aimed to simulate many aspects of ancient Egyptian life and city management, and with all the stress-inducing fun that came with it. And even though it was pretty much a carbon copy of Caesar 3, it did add some useful things like automatic housing improvements and immigrants moving into housing plots without any issue. This time around, you had to appease 5 Egyptian gods, making pyramid building and floodplain management all the more stressful. But to me, Pharaoh is just such an iconic game and truly worth a place on the list. And then in the following year, they released Zeus, and again, people could not get enough. Yes, Zeus was goofier, a little easier, but it also gave us Greek mythological gods to roam our cities. This meant a little twist to the genre, a little bit of extra olive oil to the pita bread, if you know what I mean. It was built on a slightly newer engine, so it looked a little bit different than the previous 2 titles, and even though it was a bit more cartoonish, it was still a game that you could sink hours into. And then the last Impressions Games title that I'm including here is Emperor Rise of the Middle Kingdom. This was their last, and what many regard as the most refined out of the lot. It didn't mean it was better or worse, as they were all such great titles. I mean, this time around you'd be building up your city in ancient China. The game used an updated Zeus engine and included some interesting aspects like feng shui, so you needed like the right balance of buildings and terrain to optimize your city. And yes, many thought it lacked originality, but that didn't mean maintaining your city all the way up to the Song Dynasty was any less enjoyable. Overall, Caesar, Pharaoh, Zeus, and Emperor are all just solid titles and all deserve to be on this list. Now, many of you may have been waiting for this game to show its jazzy hands, and yes, of course, SimCity 4 is on the list. Back in the day, Maxis's SimCity series reigned supreme. It was the go-to name in urban simulation, practically synonymous with the genre. These days though, SimCity has all but vanished, with Maxis now pouring all of its energy into The Sims, but once upon a time, you couldn't talk about city builders without mentioning SimCity. Thanks to SimCity 4, I always expect city builders to have a jazz or electronic soundtrack, and when they don't, I always feel like something is missing. This game just made urban planning just so much fun, and it just sounds weird me saying that out loud. And yes, despite its issues and graphics, the simulation complexity and scope of building residential areas, business districts, as well as setting off the occasional natural disaster was just incredible in this game. Now, some city builders are complex, and then you have workers and resources. Man, this game, it's hard to actually break down the granularity of this title until you start playing it, as even after about 1 or 2 hours of the tutorial, you might still be left baffled. Everything is manual. You're building up your 1960s Soviet city, and guess what? Everything is depressing. From the buildings, to the environment, to the charts in the UI, and even the gameplay itself. But you know what? That's the whole point, and the devs absolutely nailed the overall vibe. Some city builders are cute and cozy and get to hold your hand. Not this game. Build a coal mine, build conveyor belts to a transporter, buy a truck, assign that truck to pick up and drop off points, build bus stops, buy the bus, assign bus stops. It never ends. Workers and resources is brutal, but the Stockholm Syndrome is so strong here that even as depressing as your city looks, you just can't stop playing. Many people are calling it one of the best modern city builders of all time, and while it does come with a learning curve steeper than Lennon's forehead, I can't help but put it on this list just because of how well it handles every single aspect of building up a city. And of course, I'm putting City Skylines at number 1. Some might disagree, but when this game first came out, I was just blown away at the amount of freedom I could have when building up my city, even if I didn't know what the hell I was doing. And yes, the sequel still has some kinks to sort out, but what what I love about this game is its replayability. I could install it today, start a new city on a random map, and just lose an entire weekend trying to make it look like the real deal. And don't even get me started on all the mods out there, resulting in this game taking about an hour for me to start up. So most of the time I end up browsing the City Skylines subreddit to look at what other people can do while I wait. The soundtrack will forever be burnt into my brain, but it's the way that it can make such mundane tasks of city building just feel so rewarding. Many years ago I attended a wedding and bumped into this guy who also played it. Hours went by with just us talking about effective traffic strategies. We just got so hyped and excited, and it was that moment I realized that this to me was the best city building game I had ever played, and that's why it's getting the #1 spot. But up next, here are some games that are currently in early access, but I believe still earn a spot in this video because of how good they are despite the current state that they're in. First up, naturally, I needed to include Manor Lords. This is a game that caught me off guard when I first played it, especially because it was just so detailed and it was just created by a solo developer, with tons of organic city building elements and different aspects like battles across your entire map. It's weird seeing it as an early access title. You get to rule the land as a medieval lord, but a lot more goes on under the hood. Seasons pass, weather changes, and you get to drive your cow around like it's the next Fast and Furious film with Vin Diesel looking for his kingdom. Plus you can tweak the settings if you don't want all those battles and you just want to have a more relaxed medieval city building experience. Plus now with all the recent updates, I'm just so excited for its full release. Next up is Farthest Frontier, a game that truly feels like a spiritual successor to Banished. And yes, it's still in early access, but maybe by the time you're watching this video, it should be out because they're almost done ironing out all the kinks. Farthest Frontier does a great job at dropping you into the boots of a pioneer. This medieval city builder feels grounded in history, which adds a satisfying layer of realism with everything you do. Take food for example, it can spoil if you harvest it too late, so timing is key. And those farming mechanics, well, you'll be thinking like a medieval villager in no time. It's definitely a lot to juggle, but the payoff is worth it. Again, it's another game that has come a long way, and even now, it's still a great title worthy of this list. Then up next, Timberborn always gets a mention because besides Against the Storm, this is probably the best city building game that involves beavers. But to me, the best part is just the whole water management side of things that just creates a fresh spin on the genre. It's crazy. I mean, these water mechanics are just so impressive and detailed, and it's enough to keep things interesting along with your furry pals. The water sloshes around in your dams, pumps, and more, and you need to make sure it doesn't spill over into your city. And even though it's still in early access, Timberborn is definitely worth checking out, and I cannot wait to see the future of it. And then lastly, I've mentioned this game a few times, but Ostriv is a hidden gem that hopefully will one day hit its full release. It's just such a calm and relaxing game set in the 18th century of a Ukrainian town. To me, it was Manor Lords before Manor Lords. I mean, it's gridless, you've got garden houses, but there's also tons of realism going on, like food having various nutritional value, the trade and export is amazing, and the little things like how you can't fish in the winter because all the lakes are frozen over. Hopefully the dev can see a full release soon, and again, another game I'm so excited for because it's got so much going for it. But that wraps up my video. What do you think? Did I leave anything out? Did I include your favorite game? Let me know in the comments section below. And if you found this video useful or enjoyable, maybe leave a like or subscribe to find more videos like this. But other than that, it's Marco here from Easily Distracted Games, and as always, don't stop gaming.